Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to show you how to solve a quadratic equation using completing the square. So that's this example right here. It's a solve using completing the square. The first thing you have to do when completing the square, if x squared has a number greater than 1, you need to make it equal to 1. So we're going to do that by dividing everything here by -6. So to complete the square, a has to be 1. A is the number in front of x squared. So when we do -6 divided by -6, we get our 1 like we need. 72 divided by 6 is 12. Now that's going to be a plus 12. And 264 divided by 6 is going to be 44. And now that's going to be a minus 44. And 0 divided by 6 is still 0. All right, so step 1 of completing the square. If a, the number in front of x squared, is not 1, you need to make it 1. So I did. Step 2 of completing the square is to take the c term, the constant term, that needs to be on the other side. That needs to be all by itself on the side that doesn't have the x's. So we're going to do that by moving the 44. And we get x squared plus 12x equals 44. So this is what it's going to look like so you can complete the square. All right. Next step for completing the square, we're going to take the b term. We need to cut it in half, and then we need to square it. This process is always going to be the same for completing the square. When it's in this format, you're going to take the b, cut it in half, then square it. I'm going to call that number the superhero number. So we're going to take 1/2 of 12 and square it. Half of 12 is 6. 6 squared is 36. So 36 in this question is the superhero number. That means this number is going to come into this problem and save the day. So how is it going to come into this problem? Well, we're going to add 36 to both sides. So we're going to add 36 to both sides. I'm allowed to add numbers to a problem. As long as I do it to both sides, I'm allowed to do that. So now let's rewrite what we have here. X squared plus 12x plus 36 equals 80. Now, why did we do that? The process of completing the square, we don't really know why we did all this. Well, here it is. This is why we added that 36. This is now a factorable trinomial. And not only is it factorable, it's a perfect square trinomial. If I ask you for two numbers that multiply to 36, that add up to 12, the numbers you choose are going to be the same numbers. It's 6 and 6. The whole reason we completed the square is so when we factor this, the two factors we select are the same. And the reason why that's important is instead of writing it twice, I'm going to write it once in parentheses with a square. So that's where the name completing the square comes in. Look, I have a square number here. X plus 6 in parentheses squared equals 80. And then we're going to solve for x by getting rid of this square. The opposite of squaring a number is square rooting a number. So we're going to square root that and square root that and get x plus 6. The opposite of squaring is square rooting, so I just have x plus 6 left. And the square root of 80 I can't do. 81 is a perfect square, but 80 is going to create an irrational answer. So that's going to be the square root of 80. This said to solve, so let's keep going. Let's see how far we can get. The square root of 80 can be simplified. I'm going to erase our superhero work here. The square root of 80 can be simplified. The biggest square root that can go into it is 16. So the square root of 80 is actually 4 radical 5. So if I bring that over here, I'm going to get x plus 6 equals 4 radical 5. Now, when you square root something, there's two answers. There's a positive answer and a negative answer. So when I put this 80 here, technically there's a square root with a plus or minus in front of it. There's a plus or minus in front of this square root. So in front of this 4 radical 5, there's a plus or minus in front of it. And our last step to get x alone is to subtract 6. And we're going to get x equals negative 6. Here's that plus or minus 4 radical 5. Now you could have solved this using the quadratic formula and you would have got the same answer. But completing the square is a whole different process that gets you the same answer. A lot of people forget that plus or minus. Remember, when you use the quadratic formula, you get a plus or minus. So when you complete the square, you should also get a plus or minus. So the answer to this question, as far as we can solve here, x in this question is negative 6 plus or minus 4 radical 5. And sometimes they're going to ask you to find the decimal equivalent. Remember, what that means is to do both of these questions on your calculator. Just type that on your calculator and it'll give you a decimal answer. And just type that on your calculator and it will give you a decimal answer. I'll do it just so feel complete here. So 2.9 approximately. That negative 6 minus 4 radical 5 is negative 14.9 approximately. And I just did that by just typing in on my calculator the two problems, one with a plus and one with a minus. So that was just solving an equation using completed the square. That's all for today. Thanks for watching.